you're saying that ultimately what we're trying to do with children anyway is to help them become self-sufficient.
Exactly.
So then there's a disconnect between us thinking of children being independent and allowing a child to be independent in their thoughts and actions.
Well, that's a beautiful. That's the art of being a parent is to recognize, to allow them longer and longer leash to explore, to develop curiosity, and it's actually a very. It's called particularly between the ages of 18 months and 36 months. There's a period called rapprochement. And what this period, what means is that the child begins to want longer and longer leash and to move further and further into the external world, into the real world. And our job is to keep an eye on him and to allow him to do this, to make sure he's safe. And at some point when the child realizes he's out far and in deep, and he turns around very concerned that where am I? Our job is to make sure that we're there and it's the parent who says, okay, go ahead. Oh, now you want us. Oh yeah. Oh, now you want to come back. So if you turn away from the child, right, you have begun a very serious personality disorder in this child that I've been treating for many years. This is the beginning of what's called a borderline personality, which is what everybody's heard of, and they develop in the future insecure attachments. And a kind of like a medium level anxiety in their relationships with old people because they've learned that you can't depend on a person.
You can't depend on them. I've always been very clear about this, about allowing my child to feel that they are in their own world and they can experience on their own. And when they turn, that I'm going to be there. My wife has always suffered a lot because I say to her, "Hold on, he's fine," and depending on the environment where we are, when we're at the beach, for instance, and he's on the beach, he's on the sand, he could be. I judge it based on how fast I can get there. So I'll let him go as far as he can, as far as I. And there was this one time when he started to go in the water, and he was, and I was he was getting further in, and I was like, and I was getting to the end of my, how far I get, and he tripped. I had to get up, and I went as fast as I possibly could.
It was a scary moment.
It was a scary moment.
For both of you.
But for the both of us, exactly, and that's a good thing. And then at that moment, of course, he realized, hey, there's some, I can't be this far away from Dad, right?
Oh, at least I remember it was a frightening moment when, speaking of the beach, and my daughter was a toddler, and she was already up in getting really aggressive and seeking independence and going out on her own. And she started to walk down the beach. It was in the dunes. It was someplace out on Long Island.
Yeah.
And she's walking along. And I'm telling you, there was a moment my wife and I were watching and wondering, how far is she going to go? And like people on the beach are like, where's the parents for this kid? Where's the parents? So I'm letting her go. And there was a moment when she turned around and looked at us. And she just said, she didn't say anything. She just went back. She kept going. I'm thinking, she's got stuff. Someplace that we're going to get arrested if we don't go get her.
Yeah. That's funny.
But
so, yeah.
That's the beauty and the horror of it. Like their beginning of independence means, in fact, they're going to be moving further and further away from you. But the paradox is that the relationship grows deeper and more complex.
I like that. I'm so glad that you said that. Yes, of course. The more you allow them to become themselves, have their own worlds, the closer you get.
And I can't tell you how much they'll appreciate you for that.
Yeah.
It's those helicopter parents, they call them now, the ones who are always on top of their kids and paying too much attention, and the tiger moms and all these. There's got to be a mixture, and most important, you have to be flexible, and you have to be able to recognize your particular child's skills and talents and shortcomings and compensate for them.
And all of this primarily happens when we become aware enough that we need a little bit of help from books,
Yeah.
I mean, I've read a lot about this. I want to be a good dad, and I definitely believe that the only way to do that is through reading.
Experience is, the more you spend time with your children, the more you fall in love with them. And the more you fall in love, the more you want to be with them, and you miss them when they're gone. And the books are guidelines. They give you a rough, and each kid develops. If you take these books too seriously, as I say, every child is different, and if one book says, well, he should or she should be doing this by 18 months, and you're thinking like, hey, it's like 19 months. Come on, when is this kid going to get with the program? They learn language differently. For instance, girls learn to speak much faster than boys do. And some kids who are in families where they're speaking 2 languages or 3. I knew a child when my daughter was really young who said they spoke 4 languages in the house, and it was very difficult for her to learn how to speak, in one language consistently. But the beauty was, once she learned how all these different languages worked, she can speak any language fluently she wants, and she'd probably learn Greek in a month if she wanted to.
Right, and going back to you said experience, right? That's going to be being present, and we were talking about the child is born, right? And I remember going back to the courses that you teach in the hospital, right? To these new dads. I remember when I was in the hospital taking that course myself, I felt dumb. I felt removed, detached. I wasn't in love with the child. I really didn't know what to do.
Well, my friend, you are following father's developmental progress, because first of all, it's anxiety. Men have very, very little support in the real world for what it is they're getting out to. And they're reluctant to talk to each other about their anxiety because, as is often the case, men are supposed to fix things and they're not allowed to talk about their fears, their anxieties. They're scared of so many different things, and they're entitled to. They know that their relationship with their partner is going to change. They know they have no parenting skills unless they've been taking classes. They don't know very much about childcare. They're worried about security and their jobs. They're worried about money. So all of these things are weighing to not only that, but as a man, you have to redefine what masculinity means to you. I mean, is masculinity about changing diapers and giving kids baths? No, man, we're supposed to be pressing a button that starts World War III if anybody messes with us.
Masculinity. So and masculinity, that reminds me of is changing diapers manly. And you know what?
Taking care of another person is manly. You know what? One of the things that I coined a phrase recently was, today, these are the guys who haven't had their babies yet. And I said, today you are men. After your child is here, you'll be a human being. And a human being means like you do both female and male things without any hostility or anxiety about, is this what a real man does? A real man does what's supposed to be done and what the child needs.
Takes care of business. That's his thing, right? And I'm glad that you mentioned being present early on. I definitely changed diapers. I was there from the very beginning, and that's I bathed with my children.
Richard, because it's an opportunity to bond with your child. It's not a chore. It's like you can sing to your baby while you're changing the diapers. You can tell stories. They don't know what you're saying yet, but they don't care. It's the sound of your voice, the eye contact you make with it. Those are the things that early on developed a bond.
Right, and you're modeling. They're seeing what.
Yeah. Fathers do this stuff, right? So for the boys and the girls, the girls will wind up marrying men, hopefully, who know that these are things that they love to do for their kids. And the boys, when the fathers are involved, there's much less gender discrimination. That there's when they see dads cooking, they don't see mother in the kitchen, slaving away. They see daddy whipping up something, and they see, I iron clothes occasionally when I have to.
Right, of course.
Well,
As do I, yeah. You have to
yeah, my wife she's watching this, she's going to say, yeah, right. Okay, sorry, honey.
Yeah, so a good dad. So we got rid of the word perfect dad, but a good dad then is present during those moments that he is changing the diapers, maybe cleaning up the child's room a little bit. He's modeling that good dad for the child. The child's going to know what maybe in the future he's going to know what being a good father is, what being a good man is. Mm-hmm. The way that you treat the child's mother.
And extremely important. you're modeling how a relationship goes. How does love work? How does it get expressed? And if they see parents bickering, they see hostility, they see disrespect, they see abuse of some, whether it's verbal or physical, that's the model for them. What do you think they're going to wind up doing when they get old?
Right.
Because when children see dissension in the house, it creates tremendous anxiety for them.
Right.
And when kids, if they grow up with this anxiety, that anxiety festers, and later on it'll turn into anger.
Right.
That's why, I think, a class is on teaching parents how to communicate constructively with each other, how to not make demands that are
Right.
can't be fulfilled, how to not be accusatory. You said this, you told me you were going to do that, I expected you.
Right.
Boy, that the end is not far away.
Yeah. So if as you're learning to love your child, you have to recognize, and if you want to be there present, and if you want to be a loving father, you have to respect the child's mother.
Absolutely. And because if the mother and the father, they have to have a foundation of trust. That's so basic, and you earn trust. It has to be given. You have to give respect. You have to honor the person's differences and enjoy them even. My wife is very different than me, and I and I don't know how she tolerates some of my stuff sometimes, and vice versa. But you can't be a bean counter. You can't be picky-yoon about things. You have to learn to, if you're going to fight about stuff, you better pick the big stuff.
Right.
Is it going to be brought up in one religion or another? Do you want to go to public school or private school?
Right.
Those are the big conversations, not the ones. And when I see couples in therapy now, they come in on the edge of divorce because one or the other didn't empty the dishwasher often enough. I mean, these are like real things that they pin their hat on, and that's really crazy.
And I'm a true believer that we, in a family setting, we are stronger when we work together. So if you respect the mother, you are a team, right? And she will lead with her strengths, and I will lead with my strengths, and that makes us a lot stronger than if we had to do it individually, right? As a single parent.
No, and I see, and I think that kids, when they express a need for something, and father disapproves of something, and mother says it's okay. I think that it's really, or vice versa. I think it's really important for the child to have the advantage of an alternative voice. Like I think a good parent will say, well, let's talk to dad about this, or let's talk to mom about that. And you have a conversation about it, and they learn that negotiation is the way towards resolving something. You develop a strategy for addressing a particular difficulty. But that cooperative experience, that cooperative spirit, it becomes ingrained in the child, and the child becomes less contentious and learns how to become available to problem solving in a more sophisticated way.
Right. Yeah, I definitely see that in my children. So, and Charles, we're at the end of the show.
Time flies.
Time flies. Thank you so much for being here.
Okay.
It really has been such a pleasure talking to you.
I'm glad to see what you're doing. It's very important.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. Well, that was incredible advice. I can't wait to have Charles back on the show. If you are 16 to 24 years of age and you would like to have a conversation with me on the show, I would love you to please write me an email, let me know. I know that everyone around us will benefit from listening to your story. So that's it. Be on the lookout for the next conversation. And thank you.